Hello there. This is going to be a very quick, impromptu video because today's also my birthday. I have a Playmobil Austin Martin to build over there, so I'm going to get through this quickly but coherently, hopefully, knowing me. But I want to make this quick little video to tell you about my latest charity auction, which is born out of the fact that last week on my website I covered Spotlight RC, which is a very controversial comic, and as a result I got a lot more readers on my website than normal. And even though I don't particularly monetize any of my stuff outside of a Ko-Fi, I felt a bit guilty about getting so many extra readers off the back of a comic that is vile. Let's be honest, it's absolutely hideous. So I thought about trying to give something back, particularly to the trans community, who is one of the more vilified groups in that comic. However, allegorically, in inverted commas. So, in this auction, I'll be donating to 3 trans charities. The proceeds will be split evenly between the 3 of them. I simply asked on Twitter for people to recommend some of the less obvious charities, ones that still do good work, but perhaps don't get the same attention as some other ones. So I'll be telling you more about them in a minute, but first I shall tell you about what this auction is for, which is for the 559-page doorstop of a self-published in 2001, where that was a much harder, Transformers fan fiction novel, Eugenesis. Most importantly, by James Roberts, who about a decade after that would become one of the most important Transformers writers on IDW's More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light comics. Effectively one of the main architects of the Transformers franchise, along with John Barber and Margaret Scott. And sort of a populist author, the one whose book got the most press attention, did well in the comics charts, at least digitally, and won awards. It's the award-winning Transformers comic that James Roberts wrote, which I think is still unique in the history of Transformers comics. So, he's an important figure in the franchise and has a significantly huge fan base. And he's also sort of man who was writing 559-page fan fiction novels that he would then publish himself. So you could not call him anything less than a dedicated fan. So not only is this a really well-regarded piece of fan fiction, a very famous piece of fan fiction, because not many people were doing stuff like this even before you take his later career into account, it's also a book full of ideas and concepts that he would like to explore in sometimes in similar ways, sometimes in very different ways as his writing developed. In his following comics, there are Transformers concentration camps, there are explorations of Transformers biology and birth, there is Rung, there is a conversation between Optimus Prime and his arch nemesis in a prison cell, there is a complicated time travel plot. Basically every idea he had about Transformers in 2001, James Roberts put into this book, and would later re-explore many of those same concepts. So it's almost a primer. It's almost the original text or Bible of More Than Meets the Eye. And if I'm correct in saying so, I believe there were only 300 copies published and sold at the Transforce convention that year. And that's 20 years ago. People who were at that convention and got a copy of this, they will have fallen out of fandom before he became famous and just threw it away. They will have lost their copy. They will have died in weird and strange ways, and their collection would have been destroyed by their Transformers hating relatives. There were much, much less than 300 copies of this left in existence. So, and it's in a reasonable state of condition as well. Yes, it's a bit yellowed. A bit stained on the, don't know how well that's showing up, a bit stained on the side, but on the other hand, the spine is in relatively good condition, and it's not too folded or bent compared to many copies. Because it's a self-published book. They're not designed to last very well. It is signed. It is personally signed to me, but, you know, if you get it in the UK, James Roberts will almost certainly gladly cross all that out and sign it to you personally new. Or you keep it as a little memento, but it does have his autograph in it anyway. And you can just ignore the text above that. That's a bonus as well. It even has a plastic protective cover that I added. That's worth about 20p in and of itself. So, you know, you're getting a lot here. You get something very rare and signed and protected. I have seen copies of this book go for £300 at conventions. I paid £90 for mine a few years ago. So that will be the starting bid in this auction, which means that the charities will at least get as much split between them as I paid for it. The three charities being, and the people who recommended them, Transformers, one word of a brain, Transgender NI, which would be for Northern Ireland, recommended by Jacob, Trans Leeds, recommended by James Marsh, who gets his surname, because the other charity, Gendered Intelligence, was also recommended by James, who goes by Autofots on Twitter. So whatever this raises, they will each get a third of this. I will pay postage. So every bit of money that the winner of this auction gives me will go straight to the charity. And I will post anywhere in the world. But how do you bid on this? That's what you're asking. And here's how, my fine friends. It is a silent auction. What you do is you DM me, either on Twitter, @Inflatable Dalek, or via my email, crazeweb@yahoo.co.uk. Details of both of those will be in the description of this video. You tell me how much you would like to pay for a copy of Eugenesis. This auction will be open for a week. From the time of recording, 17th of November 2021, to the 24th. On the 25th, I will pick, and I will look through the bids. The highest bidder wins a book. If two people bid the same amount, the person who bid first wins a book. If you'd likely meant two people of the same bid at the same amount at the same time, maybe some sort of wrestling contest, but I don't think it will come down to that. You'll then have a week to pay unless you specify with your bid that you need till your payday or till you can go smother your rich maiden aunt to get your inheritance. So as long as you specify the date that you need to wait till in your bid, I'll be happy to wait a week or two as long as you're not taking the piss. Longer than I'm saying, but other than that, you have a week. And the first weekend after you pay, the book will be posted to you. The money goes straight to the three charities. So hopefully that's nice and simple. It's all straightforward. Cuts out middlemen, cuts out fees. Everything goes to the three charities. And this incredibly rare book could be yours by the end of the month. If you put in that highest amount. So as Quark would say, bid high, bid often, and I hope that all of you really make a good, decent amount go to the charities. And I will speak to you all soon.